mean, one of the tangible deliverables was to make a little design system for anyone or any designer out there that would want to maybe take on designing a few pages later on and all that stuff. So maybe microsites with the look and feel of Node.js. So I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at the stuff in Figma. So in there, we have the style guide per se with the color typography. I kept the colors as we had them before. We might change them in the future, but everything is connected now. So it would be really easy to theme, which is pretty much what I'm doing with the dark mode. We kind of briefly said, yeah, let's do it, but I don't know if it's you guys are okay with that for sure. So maybe we can talk about that. There's the light theme, which would be kind of something like this. This is the home page. Right now, what I have is based on the stuff that we kind of know from Google Analytics. People are coming to the site to either download or read docs. So I put those two calls to actions there. The Node.js LTS, which is the one that the latest is the one that people are downloading the most, or you can get the current as well. Or in here, I had an idea to put some sort of like interactive section. I don't know if that's like maybe phase 2. So what I put here at first was just the commands to download it like right away, right? As long as and as well as the documentation would take you to the documentation page in a second. In here I had also it's for us is big communities. It's pretty big. So the next section is about like the events that we might have and stuff like that. So that's it. And then in here I kind of put a section about like features and things like that. This might change. I might change this in the features. I just put it there for reference. And then a call to action to subscribe to the newsletter. Who's using Node, and then calls to action to like the beginner's guide and stuff like that. And then if you go to the docs, I created there's two things. There's a template for a basic documentation page, right, that anybody could follow with the H1s and H2s and all that stuff. As well as if you look at like should we do this, it's in you could look at it in dark theme as well. I put breadcrumbs, also the date in which was edited, but that's pretty much the template page. You do have a home page for the documentation per se, which in here would be kind of like what is Node, what can you do with Node, like stuff like that, more about documentation per se. And then in here you would have all the navigation to that. These would be like you would click on this and this would open, which maps really closely what we have here. I'm just taking from here and grouping them a little bit better, so it makes sense. And that is, let me see if I'm missing anything. Oh, and then in here, I'm creating also, all these elements are kind of like components. So it'll be easy for you guys to come in here and then code these things. Like you could go into code mode and then see like all the different attributes and all that stuff in here. So everything is built with the specifications that are in here, everything. So everything is connected. So we can theme it really, really easily.
Awesome.
That's it. Yeah, that's pretty much what I had so far.
Very cool. I'm psyched to keep watching this come together. For the light dark mode, I think all we'll need is just, if it can be kept relatively one-to-one, the mapping, like it would be nice to just switch a global variable for colors for light and dark mode, and call it a day. But if we need to do something a bit more custom, we can manage that as well. Like, is it currently a one-to-one mapping for colors? Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that changes is the primary color changes from green to this pink, and then it's just basic color. That's the only thing that changes.
Yeah.
And it's just just a global variable.
Awesome. That'll make it easy for us to implement. We can just do that with CSS variables at the top. Call it a day. Sweet. I really like the interactive, like how to install widget on the homepage. The more command line like widget there. We'll have to work to get you content for that.
Okay.
I believe. And we'll probably want to review with some folks on the more ingrained in the technical side to make sure we're getting all that right.
Got it.
But I can certainly help out with that.
Yeah. What do you think about putting the commands for installation in there for phase 1? Is that not really valuable, or is it too much work for what it's worth?
Nah, it's static content essentially. They rarely change. But it's a more common install pattern than straight downloading the binary. So I like it front and center. Yeah, I like it there personally. We're kind of saying we're not going to have a live code demo on the homepage at this point, which we don't want to consider pros and cons for. I'd say, like, it's kind of neat to see it running, but at this point, if you don't have a general understanding of what Node is, you're going to go to the learn page and have to get more detailed content. So we might want to get a little bit of user feedback from new engineers to see if not having the live code demo on the page and instead having CLI install options is in fact a better experience for them. Because there'll be live code demos here in the Learn docs.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah,
that's the idea. So like the idea is that people would come, I guess, as soon as they download it, they would come to get started, learn about what's Node and all that stuff, and then moving to tutorials. Like the first tutorial, and John, you talked about like maybe putting videos in there and all that stuff, so we could do stuff like that in this section right here. And then after that, more advanced things like advanced guides, which you were following that in here. So I'm just kind of grouping these together as well.
Yeah, and John, I'd love to get your thoughts on, so Oscar, you kind of have a video tutorial section that's independent of getting started or advanced guides. John, do you have thoughts on is it better to have like the video tutorials as a separate area, or is it better to have them interspersed in the text-based getting started or advanced guides? Like, what have you found?
I think it would probably be like the videos could live just embedded with the written content, like either a link out to a YouTube channel, or it could be embedded in the page or something like that. I think that, like, personally, I think that makes the most sense. So if you land on a page and you want to watch the video, it's there. Otherwise, if you land on the page and there's a video somewhere, you're not probably going to go track it down.
Yeah, because there's going to be a weird mapping. If we're going to have to be careful about the video content we make and make sure it maps directly to the getting started flow, the existing documents there. Because if it starts diverging too much, then we'll struggle with where to put it, or it won't match the content. And then it might make more sense to pop it out into its own section if it is like standalone content. But if the video content does actually follow the written documentation pretty well, you want to intersperse it instead of having a separate section.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good plan for now, at least. Video stuff is down the road for sure, but keeping like the video would be a video version of the written content essentially. So.
Yeah, and I have seen some really good talks about Node. So maybe we can include, for example, in this section, which talks about what Node is really. Obviously, this is just like template content, right? But in here we could put those type of videos, or if we make an actual video about it, we can just put it in here and then just keep the content or the typed content minimal as well.
If we're going to start including third-party content, we might want to draw out a policy for what we are willing to include versus not include. In another part of the project, like we had included third-party tools that were sort of like endorsed, like you can recommend this, like as tools to help develop with Node. But when one of them was removed, it seems like there's some now open discussion about what rules are we following when we decide which third-party tools to endorse or not. So the same thing for content would be nice to have. So this might be a good reason to draw that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it's not created specifically for the Node site, then we'll have to, jump those fences as we get to them. Awesome, Oscar. This looks absolutely great. Let us know when you think it's in a place where we can like start working off a mock and converting nav and look and feel and start getting the color variables in there. Yeah, but otherwise, yeah, I can't wait to see it keep evolving.
Yeah, this is great work, Oscar. Thank you. It looks awesome. So.
Oh, great, guys! Awesome.
Yeah. Let's. Is this? We can share this Figma board, right? It's the same link.
Yeah. Is there a way that we can put the link on the generated GitHub issue so that everybody can like see it anytime they want?
Yeah, totally. So just on the recurring invite?
I dropped some links into the agenda issue for this from at least older ones that we had. I'm not sure if maybe they're wrong or whatever, but they point to the NJ design system. If you can maybe go look at that issue and check to see if those links are sending to the right place, but I dropped those in a minute ago.
Okay, perfect. Cool. I'll check.
Yeah, Oscar, drop them in the meeting ticket. If the link's going to stay the same as you keep iterating, I need to switch over the meeting. We're going to talk about this in a second about consolidating to one repo.
Okay, cool.
That is the more the better. So when she tried new,
yeah, it should be the same link. So I'll check that is the same as the one you had, and then that should be.
I get that.
Yeah, I pulled them from the meeting notes from the 6th, so just last meeting, I guess.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, my headphones disconnected there, and a video auto played when it did. Yeah, if you drop the updated link, and if it's going to stay consistent, I need to switch over the automatic issue generator, ticket generator anyway, if we're consolidating one repo. So while I'm in there, I can drop it in. So it'll just be a recurring.
And hey, one more question. So for layout and all that stuff, I already have some ideas on it. So we're good for you guys to take that on. But for iconography, I'm using material. Is that okay? Or you guys want to like have something more custom?
I'm personally fine with it. If we want to swap out the icons we end up using for something custom down the road, I'd say let's do that once we get something launched. But
okay, cool.
Beat out the door, material's fine for now.
Yeah, I'm not using that much iconography anyways, but for now we can keep it that way. And then if anything, it's really easy to change anything here. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd say
cool.
Go on use material for now, and we'll evaluate that once post launch. If we want something more custom.
Awesome, guys. Okay, I'm gonna get off then because it's gonna get really technical, I guess, after this. So.
Not super technical, just moderately. But
so let me know if you guys need anything or if you have any feedback. Like you guys can just click on here and then comment anything, any questions, anything, and I'll get the question or whatever, that comment.
Awesome. We will leave feedback.
Real quick before you go, Oscar, is is there anything you need from us or like a magic army of people that came to help? Is there anything in the meantime that people, do you need feedback in any particular spot or just click around and look at stuff? Like what are your next actions?
Yeah, for now, it would be awesome if you could like go through the prototype. And the way you go to the prototype is like, there should be a present or some sort of call to action here. And then go through, I'll organize this a little bit better so that it makes sense. But I'm just particularly interested in seeing if this makes sense, if the hierarchy of the sections make sense, because we can change the look and feel as much as we can. But I'm just curious about like, okay, yeah, this makes sense to have it there, or yeah, I don't know if the features will go well here, like stuff like that. I want to make sure that this is valuable for the audience. So that's the kind of feedback that I'm looking for. Not so much about how it looks. So like right now, I'll ask that maybe in the next meeting. Yeah, and then I'll organize this a little bit better so that it makes a little bit more sense. And then you guys can give me feedback about, okay, yeah, it makes sense to have the get started and then the tutorials and then the advanced guides and the way I'm kind of organizing that.
Cool. Thank you. So it sounds like you are interested in feedback on the layout, the information architecture, and the overall structure of where things go, but not so much right now the actual pixels of how things look.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
And I do feel free to like give feedback on maybe the colors, like because we're putting that stuff in here. You guys can take a stab and say, okay, I don't really like the colors. Can we change them? I want to get a feel for the styling per se as well, but that's not like what I'm after. But feel free to give feedback on colors, topography, the type scale that we're using, the spacing scale that we're using as well, like all that stuff. You guys can give feedback, but that's not necessarily what I'm after right at this moment.
Cool. Awesome.
Cool.
It might be, and I'm going to leave this in a comment in the Figma board too. For the feature section, it might be time to solicit some homepage content again from the folks on the technical side of the project. I'd be curious to see what they think should be highlighted on the homepage for a first-time Node user.
Yeah,
because I'm at a loss for what those lists should be.
Yeah, and if we even need those, like, or if that's like we want to call those out, should it be before the community things? I'm just putting like, based on the Google Analytics, I'm just putting that hierarchy on the first thing that people see, right? Like the first thing that they do is download. The second is kind of like learning, right? Like call to action to learn. And the second is all about community, right? Features and all that stuff. I'm just putting them below the fold. But just, you can feel free to comment or give your input on that.
Awesome, will do. Thank you, Oscar. We'll let you get to your 9:30.
Cool.
Yep.
It's great to meet you, man. Take care.
Same.
Cool. See you soon. Awesome. Let's dive into the regular agenda here. So I'm gonna punt on. I need to tweak issues. Let's first look at issue number 147. We'll talk about data contract for API document consumption later. I have an issue in this in .dev, but relevant to that, issue number 147, made a while back. It's the new home Node.js.dev ticket. There was talk back in February about merging the two repos because having an admin repo, which basically just holds meeting minutes and auto-generated meeting tickets separate from the code repo, could potentially be confusing. We got feedback at the Collaborator Summit that it was in fact a little confusing. So although we closed the ticket with consensus to not do anything, we reopened discussion and we've opinion has moved to, hey, we should maybe merge these two. So I have a PR open over in Node.js.dev, which we can merge in if we choose to move forward with this. Just moving meeting minutes and pertinent stuff in the README over. So we'll leave that open for I think the requisite 48 hours for additional comments as well. But you can keep the discussion going here. I know Manil, you had concerns about merging the two, but has that evolved, or are you still in a similar spot?
Well, if the folks at the Collaborator Summit actually came out and said, well, it is actually confusing for us and it's getting in the way of us doing work or actually contributing at an administrative level, then that probably means that that should be fixed. So I'm just looking through the pull requests in Node.js.dev. I can't, what number is it?
Sorry, yeah, it's PR number 270 in .dev, yeah.
Oh, merge content from website redesign. Okay, fair enough. Cool. Yeah, no objections from me to fix this.
Cool. Yeah, as it's been this first issue in our agenda, as well as indicative of increased overhead and maintenance too, because we have a duplicate issue in .dev as well. So I think it'll.
Yeah, I was one of the people at the Collab Summit that said, like, I would love it if they got merged, because it, as somebody new coming into the project, it was pretty confusing to me, basically. So I was one of the people that was definitely like in favor of it. So
Awesome.
To clarify, where do the minutes go now? Do they go into a directory, meetings / and then just like before, but in the same repo?
Yep. So all I did in that PR was basically copy paste the meetings directory over, and any relevant information in contributing.md and the main README I merged in, which wasn't a lot because it was a good bit of duplicate content.
Fair enough. Also wondering if in the README, so before for context, we used to use the README in this website-redesign repo to let people sign up, in a manner of speaking, for updates. So they'd add their name, and if we reached that stage of the project, which we divided, I think, roughly into 5 parts, we would ping them. At this point, I'm not necessarily sure that's very useful. That list of signups, it was just basically a workaround in lieu of a form. And now it adds a fair amount of length to the README, especially for someone who's skimming quickly up and down. I'm wondering if there would be any objections for removing the old parts, because I think right now we're in the very last part. It's at site development.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing. I have no objections there. I copied it over for completeness sake, but we're all okay with mixing it. I'm fine with that.
Rad. John, any thoughts about that? Did you use it? Did you find it useful?
I saw it. I'm not, it wasn't super useful to me. We could probably pull that into a folder or something, so the information's preserved somewhere, but doesn't have to be on the README. I've been thinking a lot about working on the README or whatever in general. And I don't think that particularly, it confused me. I was like, should I make a pull request to add myself to the repo? I wasn't sure what was going on. So yeah, maybe, I don't think it needs to be in the README on the main page. Yeah.
Yeah, to your point, John, it can be misconstrued as permission to interact with this repo, which is not great. Little exclusionary.
Totally, I don't actually even see the need for it to be preserved.
Okay.
It's almost unnecessary artifacts, but that's my opinion. Folks who did engage after being on that list are already recorded in GitHub in the contribution history. I don't think we need to keep signups.
Yeah, cool. I'll nix that from the PR. We'll leave it open for the requisite 48 hours, and then we'll merge it in. There's additional work to be done for the meeting issue generation, and I need to do the work to port issues that should stay alive from website redesign over to .dev, since we're not doing a repo rename. We're actually mixing an old repo. So I'll do that work when I merge the PR.
Super. Also related to last time, while I was away, I did catch a message from owner about starting access to the Zoom account, and I'm wondering if you need to revisit the policies for like how many people have access to it, so we have a reasonable amount of backups when especially multiple people are away.
Yep, there was a lot of vacation and readjusting post conference. So, yeah, we should bring that up in ComCom as a larger issue, because we're getting into ComCom stuff here, but we're blocked on the number of people who can host these types of meetings if we don't have more federated access. So yeah, Neil, you want to make a sub issue for that in ComCom for us, and we'll do that. We'll talk about that next time.
Yeah, I'll just drop something in there. Thanks for redirecting it that way. That totally makes sense.
Yeah, I think I'm happy sharing credentials with anybody who's regularly here at the meeting, including owner. He now has access to kick off these things. The one thing that we can't share a lot is access to the live YouTube streaming, because that's like Google account permissions, which are a little more sensitive. So that one I'm not entirely sure how to work around, but we'll talk about that more in ComCom as a broader issue. Awesome. Let's dig into some. Oh, I navigated away. There we go. Let's dig into some of the .dev work. So owner and I'm not sure if we'll talk about this on live streams for public edification. So if you pop over to Node.js.dev and take a look at the project boards in there, I made 5 different project boards. There's a whole slew of them. One of which is just about done. We'll augment with issues once we get mocks from Oscar for the learn page. But for kind of the 5 major pages that we're building out here, we made these project boards along with stub issues for. Where'd the stub issues go?
Yeah, good point. They're in the release ones are in the repo. I know that they're in the issue tracker.
Yeah, release page. That's interesting. I guess they just didn't get pulled in the boards. Okay, well, I'll do that now. Cool. Well, there's project boards that will soon have issues in them, and then there's stub issues for a lot of major content over in issues. So there's a lot more showing up here if you go take a look. So there's now issues for release page documentation, a new download grid for the release pages, and just kind of nitty-gritty technical. Hey, we need this on the darn site. Like other significant ones are to integrate the static JSON files that we have for documentation into the site, and actually just show some basic API documentation from what we currently have. It's a pretty detailed ticket. But there's a lot of, they're kind of borderline good first issues because they're really meaty because it's a bit of core infrastructure. But for somebody looking for something to dig their teeth into, there's some very good first-time content here. Obviously, need to surface it in these project boards, which we'll do right after this meeting. I probably did that. Yeah, so that's from an organizational standpoint, that's kind of the state of things post collab summit. It's a lot of content to go through, and we could either like give a high level review of each ticket right now just for the video evidence, but that might not be the best use of time. Looking at the .dev agenda list. Great 19 library API JSON. Yeah, looking at the .dev thing, a few of these were tagged with the meeting issue that would basically just be technical deep dives on how we might do it, but just rereading the ticket. So I guess for you two, how would you like to use the rest of the time? We can keep talking technical content, or we could keep talking organizational needs. Which would you all prefer?
I'm flexible.
We could do technical stuff. One of the things I forked the repo like just the other day, just was looking for something to do. And I was trying to jump into the release pages or something. And I realized there's no, I started the project and I realized there is no release page yet.
Nope.
And I did not realize that. That would be maybe a good issue or something. Or I was curious, like, how do you Adam or Manil see is there anything that needs to happen first before those release page issues get started? Do we need a mock for the page, or like a shell of it or something like that?
Yeah. So the the InVision app is linked to like that original drop link here. It's linked to in, I believe, all of the tickets. And if not all, then at least the release process documentation ticket. Take a look at the rest. Yep, it's linked to in all the tickets. We can use that wireframe as kind of a guiding light for general layout. Until Oscar takes a stab at look and feel, we won't have a final mock, but the content's going to have to be there. So something that owner and I had chatted about on day 2 in a hallway track conversation, basically, was there's a lot of basic data integration here that we don't need designs for. Like, we need the page to exist. We need the download grid to work and be rendered on the page. Like, look and feel is an extra layer of polish that we can do after. We need releases that releases infinite scroll thing at the bottom to load. So I linked to the currently hosted JSON file, which we're just going to hit up as if it's a fake JSON API for this. I linked to that. We can use the wireframe for just general rendering of it for now. So all this basic data integration and just like get the content on the page, we can do before a final mock, because it'll be it's independent of the final design. So yeah, it's kind of broken up into major segments on the page. So like the download grid is separate from, showing the download options is separate from the, basic little documentation segment. But, oh.
Yeah, maybe
oh, oops. Yeah, so, but the kind of looped into each one of these tasks is we need the page to render. So whichever one we tackle first, and whoever tackles it should also feel free to add that in the way they see fit.
Cool. Yeah, I guess we could take the approach of so I see the different download grid, download options, release history feed. These are all essentially components. I see now the release process documentation. Yeah, that's also another, whatever. How we break it up doesn't really matter, I guess, that much. I'm learning so much more about the repo and the state of the project by finally getting in and writing some code. And I realized that, oh yeah, there's probably a lot of code I can write I can help out writing, not just documentation stuff.
There's so much. Something that we may also want to consider doing is just take a pass and block out all the major sections of the site, so we don't have people asking, hey, am I allowed to make this page here? Instead, we just point to an existing empty page and say, put it there.
That was basically my question. I was like, oh, like, would that be beneficial to just create the page, and then where's it going to fit in the hierarchy? Because I couldn't see where. I was trying to just grok the Gatsby code base in general, and I'm familiar with Gatsby, but I was like, I wasn't exactly sure where all the pages were pulling from, et cetera. But that might help people get started if there's like a structure that we have, even if it's just skeleton or whatever. But one question I had too, when do we plan to like release the site, not release as in final, but I mean like, you know, Gatsby is a static built thing. If that release information is available from JSON, that could be built at compile time instead of having to be dynamically loaded, assuming that JSON information gets updated from the like a pull request or somewhere, you know, in the Node repo. We could maybe just set up a trigger to build the site again, et cetera. Is it too early to worry about this stuff, or?
That's why in a lot of these, there's an existing process that I don't really want to futz around with too much, at least in this first pass. A lot of most of the oh my god, go away. Most of the content gets automatically published when Node publishes, and it's an independent build process, and all these JSON files get dumped out onto the existing Node.org server. So we can assume that will update as Node gets released, and I kind of want to decouple the website redeploying from the data redeploying, right? Because we don't want to have to redeploy the website with every redeploy of Node, or at least, especially not now, because the releases team doesn't know that would be part of their process. So we'd have to stay on top of it as well.
Cool.
Yeah, so I think hitting up those JSON files, which will already get updated, and considering it as kind of async source would be better.
It's a pretty light request.
Yeah. We also don't necessarily want to, as we're building out the site, we want to be aware of bundle size. Because if we bundle every giant JSON blob with all the historical versions into the final bundle, it's going to get pretty big pretty quick and just grow over time. So async loading huge chunks of data is probably to our benefit.
Cool, that sounds good. Thanks for the clarity. I needed that.
Yeah, totally. Cool. Other than that, I think it's like the issues are made. I think we just got to dive in and get our hands dirty now that we're post Collab Summit. And back for big.
Yeah, real quick, I'll talk about, I had an issue probably started in the website redesign, just about like, what we based off what we had talked about helping to onboard more developers to the project. I started an issue just to track or whatever, keep it, and ask to see if anybody had any advice, or like, is there a getting started document you really like somewhere we could look at? And I came back to it eventually and realized like a lot of this information I'm talking about exists somewhere in this repo. I'm just now like absorbing it all and realizing where it is. So it's like, yeah, but there's an issue I started about that, just to, as I'm dog fooding it myself basically. So I'll try to, commit some code to the project and try to figure out what would have helped me get up to speed faster and stuff like that. That's why I'm asking a lot of these questions.
Yeah, totally. The people already in this project have the curse of prior knowledge. So definitely keep track of that. And if there's anything you wish you had earlier on, let us know, because a lot of context is buried in issues, which is always a risk with larger projects. Yeah, so anything you wish was surfaced earlier on, let's definitely get that added to the README.
Cool. Yeah. Luckily, there's that was one of the I think objections of like merging the two repos, was there being like a lot of issues. But I think with tagging, we can just provide a link in the README to like, hey, here's the issues that you might care about if you don't care about governance. So go look at these. So, but yeah, cool.
Well, barring any other large agenda items, I might give you 10 minutes back, and I'd probably appreciate that too. I have a 10 o'clock.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well.
We can jump off. I'm glad to hear you're back in town. I'd love to sync with you, through GitHub or the internet or whatever, async, whatever, talk about this stuff whenever we get a chance.
100%, yeah. Twitter DMs are open.
Is there anything that you're planning on doing this week or in the next following weeks on here? Just create more issues, or just start working on the issues that are there?
Yeah, I'm going to definitely flesh out some more of the kind of architectural issues that I opened up over Collab Summit. Apparently get them pulled into the project boards so that they're a little more organized. I love project boards, so we should be using this.
And you're going to merge the repos, but pending that pull request?
I'll merge the issues. That'll probably go in Saturday. I want to leave it open for couple days just to follow due process there. So I'll get to that this weekend. And hopefully I can find the cycles to get my hands dirty in actual code again.
Cool.
Slowing down, so should be I should be able to do that.
All right, well, that sounds good. It was great talking to you, and I'll let you go for sure.
Yeah, thanks for chatting, John. Bye, YouTube.
Bye, YouTube.